Welcome to Sophia and Theo. In today's episode, they're breaking down the key takeaways from Atomic Habits by James Clear, uncovering the science behind building better habits, overcoming procrastination, and making lasting changes with small, consistent actions.
Okay, so ready to dive into a new deep dive.
Sounds good to me.
This time around, we are talking habits.
Habits.
Which ones to build, how to break the bad ones.
Yeah.
All that good stuff that can really make a difference in your life.
Uh-huh.
And to guide us on this deep dive,
Okay.
we are turning to James Clear's Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits, love that book.
Have you read it?
Oh, yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
It's one of those that really clicked with me.
Yeah, it's so practical.
Yes, exactly.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think it resonates with so many people because we've all been there,
Right.
where we're putting in the work,
Yeah.
trying to make changes.
Trying to eat healthy or go to the gym every day.
Exactly. And then you hit that point
Yeah.
where you're like,
Where are the results?
yeah, I'm not seeing those big flashy results.
Right. It can be so demotivating.
So frustrating.
Yeah, you feel like you're doing everything right
You're putting in the effort.
and nothing's happening.
Exactly.
It's like that ice cube analogy Clear talks about.
Oh, yeah, the plateau of latent potential.
That's the one.
Yeah. Can you remind us about that one?
Sure. So basically,
I always think of like chipping away at a giant block of ice.
yeah.
And it's like, is anything even happening?
Exactly. You're putting in the effort,
Yeah.
but it's not melting yet.
Right.
You're raising the temperature,
Okay.
but you haven't hit that critical point.
It's not visible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the key.
Okay.
Those small, consistent efforts,
Yeah.
they're not wasted.
Okay, good, because I was about to give up.
Don't do that. They're building up to something.
Oh, okay.
You just got to trust the process.
So it's not about being perfect.
No, not at all.
It's just about trusting the process.
It's about consistency.
Okay.
Small steps over time.
So we've got to play the long game here.
Exactly.
Okay.
And a big part of that long game
Yeah.
is understanding that it's not just about our actions.
Okay.
It's about our identity.
So how we see ourselves plays a huge role.
Absolutely huge.
Okay.
Clear says it so well.
Yeah.
He says, behavior that is incongruent with the self will not last.
That's deep,
Right.
but it makes sense.
Think about it.
Okay.
If you see yourself as a spender,
Yeah.
even if you want to save money,
Right.
those spending habits.
They're going to be tough to break
Exactly.
because they're tied to how you see yourself.
They're part of your self-image.
It's like, yeah, I might want to be a morning person,
Mm-hmm.
but if I keep hitting snooze and staying up late,
Right.
my actions are basically saying, nope, still a night owl.
Exactly. Your actions are speaking louder than your words.
It's like my actions are having a full-on conversation
Right.
with my identity.
And your identity is like, nah, we're good over here.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's about aligning those two things.
Yeah.
Aligning your actions with the identity you want to embody.
So how do we do that?
Well, Clear talks about this idea of voting for your future self.
Voting
Yeah.
with each choice you make,
I love that.
right?
Because it's like every time I choose to go for a walk,
Yes.
instead of scrolling through social media,
There you go.
I'm casting a vote
Casting a vote.
for a healthier me. Exactly. And just like in an election,
Okay.
you don't need to win every single vote
Right.
to come out on top.
Okay.
It's about the overall pattern.
The consistent choices.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The ones that reflect who you're becoming.
That's actually really encouraging.
It is.
Because it means that even if I slip up sometimes,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean I've totally failed.
Exactly. It's about progress, not perfection.
Okay, I like that.
It's about getting back on track.
Yeah.
Making those choices that support the identity you want.
So it's those small wins, those votes for our future selves
Exactly.
that add up to lasting change.
That's the key takeaway here.
This is already making me rethink some of my habits.
Good.
But how do we actually make those changes stick?
Right?
Because it's one thing to have good intentions. It's another thing to actually put them into action.
Yeah.
We need a system.
We need a plan.
Luckily, James Clear has got us covered.
Okay, good. Because I was about to ask.
He talks about these 4 laws of behavior change.
4 laws.
Yeah, think of it like the anatomy of a habit.
A habit having a anatomy. That's an interesting way to put it.
It is, isn't it?
So how does this anatomy work?
Well, Clear breaks it down into 4 stages.
Okay.
Cue, craving, response, and reward.
Okay. So like a cycle.
Exactly like a habit loop.
Okay, got it.
So it all starts with a cue,
Hmm?
which is basically anything that triggers your brain
Okay.
to initiate a behavior.
Okay. Makes sense.
It could be a time of day,
Okay.
a specific location,
Mm-hmm.
a feeling,
Yeah.
even another habit.
Okay, so like my alarm goes off.
That's my cue to get out of bed.
There you go.
Okay.
Or if you see.
Or if I walk past a bakery
Okay.
and I smell fresh bread,
Yeah.
that's my cue to crave a croissant.
Perfect example.
Okay.
Now that craving, that's the second stage.
Okay.
That's like the motivational force behind the habit.
So it's not enough to just notice the cue.
Right.
There has to be some desire driving the action.
You got it. You don't just want the croissant.
Yeah.
You crave that delicious buttery taste.
Yes.
The feeling of satisfaction.
Okay.
That's the craving.
Got it.
And that craving fuels the third stage,
Okay.
the response.
Which is?
That's the actual habit behavior itself.
So me actually buying and eating the croissant.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay.
And then finally the reward.
Which would be enjoying said croissant. Okay, but I'm guessing the reward is more than just
Yes.
simple pleasure.
You're right. It's about more than just the immediate gratification.
Okay.
The reward also reinforces the neural pathways in our brain
Interesting.
associated with that habit loop.
So it's like telling our brain, hey, that was good.
Exactly.
Let's do it again.
That felt good. Let's wire that in.
Okay, so the cycle kind of perpetuates itself.
It does.
I-
It's a loop for a reason.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we know how this habit loop works,
Yeah,
can we use that knowledge to our advantage?
absolutely.
Can we like hack the system?
We can totally hack it.
Okay.
So Clear provides some really practical strategies in the book.
Okay.
And one of the key takeaways
Yeah.
is the power of visual cues.
Visual cues. Okay.
Because our brains are wired
Yeah.
to prioritize what we see.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
We are visual creatures.
We are.
Yeah.
So think about it. If your gym bag is tucked away in a closet,
Yeah.
you're less likely to work out
Right.
than if it's sitting out in plain sight.
Okay.
Already packed and ready to go.
So it's about making those visual cues more prominent.
You got it.
Okay.
Make it obvious.
Yeah.
Make it easy.
Because I feel like a lot of times I get in my own way
Yeah.
where I'm like, oh, I want to do that.
Right.
But then it feels like this big effort
Yeah.
to like even get started.
Exactly. And that's what we want to avoid.
So we want to make it as easy as possible.
Exactly. Make it as easy and obvious as possible.
Okay, so our brains are like, oh,
It's right there. Might as well.
exactly.
Make it mindless almost.
This is so interesting because it's like we're taking all the subconscious things our brain does
Right.
and making them work for us.
Harnessing the power of the subconscious.
Exactly, instead of against us.
Yes.
I love it.
Okay.
What else?
Well, another way to hack the system
Okay.
is by understanding
Mm-hmm.
how our brains prioritize rewards.
Okay.
We are hardwired.
For instant gratification.
Yeah, right.
That's the problem.
Okay.
That's why it's so hard to resist that donut,
right.
even when I know a piece of fruit would be much better.
It's the classic struggle.
Yes, it is.
But Clear says
Okay.
we can outsmart our brains a bit
Okay.
by using what he calls temptation bundling.
Temptation bundling. I like the sound of that.
Right.
What is that?
It's basically linking an action you need to do
Okay.
with something that you want to do.
Okay.
So for example,
You could only allow yourself to watch your favorite show while you're on the treadmill.
I love that.
Right.
So you're associating something
Yeah.
that I might normally avoid with something I really enjoy.
Exactly. So
Wow.
you're more likely to actually do it.
Brilliant. I'm going to try that.
It works.
Okay.
It's a really simple but powerful strategy.
Okay, so we've got visual cues.
Yes.
We've got temptation bundling.
Temptation bundling.
Are there any other factors that influence our habits?
Oh, yeah. There are a bunch. Clear actually shares this really fascinating story in the book
Okay.
about Vietnam War veterans
Okay.
who struggled with heroin addiction.
Wow.
And when they returned home to a new environment.
Away from all the triggers
Right.
associated with their addiction,
Okay.
the vast majority of them were able to break the habit.
That's incredible.
It's powerful stuff.
So even if you've been struggling with a habit for a long time,
Yeah.
a change in environment might be the key.
It can be a game changer.
Wow.
Think about it. If your pantry is stocked with junk food,
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot harder
Way harder.
to resist those cravings
Oh, yeah.
than if you surround yourself with healthier options.
It's like you're setting yourself up for failure.
Exact.
If you're surrounded by
Right.
all the things you're trying to avoid.
Make it easier on yourself.
Okay, so we've got to design our environment to work for us,
Exactly.
not against us.
That's the key.
Okay, this is all making so much sense. We've got the habit loop figured out.
Yeah. Hacking it. Hacking away. With visual cues, temptation bundling, setting up the right environment. You got it. But how do we actually get started?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah, like actually building a new habit from scratch.
Right.
That can feel really daunting.
It can, especially if you're trying to tackle something big,
Yeah.
which is why I love this next strategy from the book.
Okay.
It's called the 2-minute rule.
The 2-minute rule.
That's the one.
Okay, tell me more. The 2-minute rule, it sounds almost too simple,
Right.
but in a good way. Like suspiciously easy.
That's the beauty of it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
all about making that initial step
Yeah.
so ridiculously easy
Okay.
that you can't help but do it.
I like it already.
Clear's point is that most tasks,
Mm-hmm.
even the ones that seem overwhelming,
Can be broken down
okay,
into a 2-minute version.
so instead of saying, I'm going to meditate for 30 minutes today,
Right.
I could just start by sitting quietly for 2 minutes.
Exactly.
Or instead of cleaning the entire kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
which feels like a Herculean task some days.
Right. It's daunting.
It feels impossible.
Yeah.
I could just wash the dishes for 2 minutes.
There you go.
Okay,
2-minute dishes. Anybody can do that.
right, exactly.
And the key is that once you've taken those first 2 minutes,
yeah,
you're much more likely to keep going.
it's like you kind of trick your brain into getting started
Exactly.
because I feel like that's always the hardest part.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the starting.
The starting is the hardest part for sure.
Yeah, just like getting over that initial hump.
It's like that initial push to get the boulder rolling.
Yeah. Exactly. And then once it's rolling,
And then it's like, oh, it's got momentum.
yeah, might as well keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've started building this new habit. Maybe it's writing for 2 minutes every day.
Okay.
Maybe it's, doing a quick 2-minute workout just to get the blood flowing.
Love it.
How do we make sure it sticks? Because
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
it is.
How do we make it last?
Because life gets in the way.
Life gets in the way all the time.
Yeah, distractions happen.
Distractions, disruptions.
Exactly, shiny objects.
So how do we stay focused?
Well, one of the most powerful tools we have
Okay.
is habit tracking.
Habit tracking.
Yeah.
Okay. I've tried habit tracking before.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works really well for me.
Mhm.
And other times I get like a little too
Okay.
obsessed with the numbers.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean.
And it becomes less about
Right.
like the actual habit.
It's not about the numbers.
Right. And more about like achieving this certain
Yeah.
target.
Yeah, you get so focused on hitting that perfect streak,
Yes.
exactly, that you lose sight of the bigger picture.
Yes. Exactly. And then I feel like if I miss a day, then I'm like,
It's all over.
I've ruined it. Might as well give up.
Right, the all or nothing thinking.
Exactly.
That's a trap.
It is a trap.
Clear actually talks about this in the book.
Okay, good.
He talks about Goodhart's law,
Good Heart's Law.
which basically says that when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure.
Oh, that's good.
Right.
Yeah, because it's like it's no longer about
Exactly.
like the actual thing you're trying to track.
It's just about hitting the numbers. And that's not what we want.
Okay, so how do we track our habits
Right.
in a way that's actually helpful?
Yeah.
And not just like adding extra pressure.
It's about finding what works for you
Okay.
and focusing on the bigger picture.
So less about like hitting a perfect score.
Yes.
And more about.
It's about building awareness
Okay.
around your habits.
Okay.
Noticing the patterns.
Okay. So more self-awareness.
Exactly. And then celebrating the wins.
Yes.
Because those small victories,
Yeah.
they matter.
Yes.
They're what keep you motivated.
It's like giving yourself a pat on the back.
Exactly.
Like you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
You're on the right track.
Okay. So we've got tracking.
Yes.
Any other strategies for staying motivated?
Let's see. We talked about visual cues. We talked about temptation bundling,
Yeah.
environment design,
Yeah.
the 2-minute rule,
Yes.
tracking,
Tracking
accountability.
accountability. That's a big one.
Okay.
Clear talks about the power of having accountability partners.
Accountability partner. So it's like having a workout buddy
Exactly.
for your habits.
Yes.
Oh.
Someone who can support your goals
Yeah.
and help you stay on track.
Give you that little nudge
Exactly.
when you need it.
Sometimes we need that little push.
We do.
Someone to keep us accountable.
Okay. Does Clear give any examples in the book?
He does. He talks about Brian Harris,
Okay.
who's an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
and he actually made a habit contract
A habit contract. Okay.
with his wife and his trainer
Wow.
to achieve his weight loss goals.
Okay. So he was very serious. He was committed.
Okay.
And the contract included consequences for missing workouts
Okay.
or indulging in unhealthy foods.
Okay.
Like paying fines
Okay.
or wearing a rival team's hat.
Oh, no.
Right.
That's brutal.
That's tough love.
Okay. I kind of love it, though.
It's effective.
Yeah.
It makes it fun.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about the habit loop, visual cues, temptation bundling,
Mm-hmm.
environment design, the 2-minute rule, tracking accountability.
We've covered it all.
It's clear that building lasting change takes effort.
It does.
It takes strategy.
Yeah.
But I also really appreciate that Clear doesn't just tell us what to do.
Right.
It's not like a prescriptive, like...
do this, do that.
Right, exactly. It's more nuanced than that. It is, and he really encourages us to...
He wants you to find what works for you.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's really important because...
We're all different.
We are.
We all have different brains.
Exactly.
Different lives, different circumstances.
Exactly. And what works for one person
Right.
might not work for another.
And that's okay.
It's about figuring out.
It's about experimenting.
Yes, what works for you.
Finding your own path.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
It has been fun.
I feel like I have a whole new toolkit
Excellent.
for tackling my goals.
I love that.
So as we wrap things up,
Okay.
what are some key takeaways
Okay.
that you hope our listeners will walk away with today?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that change is possible
Okay.
for anyone.
I love that.
It's not about being perfect.
It's not about having superhuman willpower.
It's not about having it all figured out.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's about understanding
Yeah.
how habits work,
All right.
setting up our environment for success,
Okay.
and making those small, consistent choices.
Those atomic habits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That align with the person we want to become.
Because those small changes can create.
They have a ripple effect.
Yes, they do.
They really do.
I love that Atomic Habits, it's more than just a self-help book.
It's a blueprint.
It's a blueprint for designing a life we love.
Yes.
One small step at a time.
Love it.
And remember, building good habits, it's a journey.
It is.
It's not a destination.
There will be bumps along the way.
Exactly. And that's okay.
That's part of the process.
It is. It's about embracing the journey.
Enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Exactly. Even with all of its ups and downs.
Embrace the ups and downs.
Exactly. Well, on that note,
Okay.
happy habit building, everyone.
Good luck out there.